Welcome back everyone to more creepy videos, and let's dive in.
This half-man, half-goat creature is responsible for taking the lives of many people in the United States. This is the true story of the Goat Man. Back in the 1950s, a simple sheep farmer in Maryland, Washington, D.C., was living a normal life, until one night while tending his sheep he encountered a very large creature. With red skin, big and crooked horns with creepy red eyes. He had met the devil himself. The creature stood in front of the sheep farmer and offered him a deal. In exchange for all his sheep, he would become a powerful and immortal creature. Without thinking, the man accepted the deal. But what he did not know was that he would be transformed into a horrible and creepy creature. Since that day, the goatman stalks the forests of Maryland, feeding on animals and the fear of people who approach the forest. People believe that this is a simple urban legend, but it is not so. People who come to the woods in that area near the bridge of Pope Lick go to look for the goatman to prove that everything is a lie. But they never return.
There's that many stories regarding mythological creatures that it does make you think that there has to be at least some truth behind it.
A warning for the keyboard warriors. The Prime Minister talks tough as the first sentences are handed down to the online lawbreakers.
This is not a law-free zone, whether you're directly involved or whether you're remotely involved.
Are y'all seeing this? The UK is freaking scary right now. Not only are they locking up people for sharing the news, I can't even. They're literally going to start extraditing people to the UK from any other country for sharing news.
You have been committed for sentence, having pleaded guilty to an offence of publishing written material which is threatening, abusive, or insulting.
We'll come right back to this guy. They're coming after you as well. Yes, you in the US, Australia, it doesn't matter where you are. You want to see how long they're locking up UK citizens for? Just wait and see. This right here just blew my freaking mind. They said it yesterday and believe them, but now listen.
We will throw the full force of the law at people. And whether you're in this country committing crimes on the streets or committing crimes from further afield online, we will come after you.
Talk to me about that, because we have seen some high-profile figures whipping up. You talked about it in there with the officers, in fact, about this being added to by online commentary. I mean, I'm even thinking of the likes of Elon Musk getting involved behind a keyboard and maybe in a different country.
Being a keyboard warrior does not make you safe from the law.
To put them in jail. Sorry, prison.
Your sentence is unavoidable. Would you stand, please? The sentence that I pass has been reduced by 1/3 to reflect your guilty plea. The sentence is one of 20 months imprisonment.
Y'all, this is absolutely absurd and scary. Imagine a day where in the US you will get in trouble and in prison for sharing the news. Let me know what y'all think in the comments.
So the WEF puppet is quick enough to arrest and imprison those who protested, but not quick enough to crack down on knife crime and the kidnappings of our women and children on our streets. Makes perfect sense. I mean, what this tells me is that the establishment is trying to silence the majority and they're running scared. That's Article 10. Article 10 is what you need to read.
For decades, the Soviet Union tried to cover up the reason why this man looks the way he does. Vakil Batrishi wasn't born like this. It was only after he moved to a doomed town called Muslimovo, which isn't even marked on the map. And the reason you've probably never heard of it is because what happened there was buried by the Soviets. You see, in 1945, Mayak was the military site that made plutonium for atomic bombs. But because they built the site so fast, they made a whole load of errors, and inexperienced scientists built a cooling system which emptied so much radioactive material into rivers that for a time it became the most polluted spot on Earth. Then, to make matters worse, 12 years later, underground tanks at the site exploded, raining contaminated radioactive materials over thousands of kilometers. But because they tried to keep it a secret, people living nearby, like Vakil, continued to drink the water, swim in the rivers, and remained living in the area completely unaware. The Russian government has since taken accountability for the situation and has offered Vakil and people like him free healthcare if he can get to a major hospital. But because it's been so long, receiving care now makes little difference, and many have just accepted their medical fate.
I suppose it's good to see that they took accountability for it in the end, but it's a little too late. I mean, Per Mang was offered to have his medical bills paid for, but I'd be looking for way more than that.
There's actually a psychology test that they use on almost every Asian. I'm gonna test you right now. Okay. I'm gonna see if you're a psychopath or not. I bet. So, once upon a time, there was a mother, and she was attending her son's funeral. Now, at the funeral, keep in mind this mother's a widow and she's looking for a new husband.
Okay.
At the funeral, she met this guy and they really hit it off. Now, she never saw the guy again. 2 weeks later, she murders her daughter. Why did she murder her daughter?
Because the guy caused her to go do that?
No, you're not a psychopath.
Okay. Why? What would be the psychopath answer
So
though?
psychopaths, they would have the answer like that. They would have the answer so quick because it's so obvious. Like, not for me. Like, I didn't get it. I didn't pass.
Yeah. Oh, so I could have said anything, but if I did it faster, then
No, there's a right answer.
oh, okay. What's the right answer then?
The reason she killed her daughter was so she would see the guy at her daughter's funeral.
Okay, that wasn't even in my mind. That's a
Yeah,
crazy
that's
answer.
psychopath. That's really psychopath.
Well, I'm glad to know I'm not a psychopath, but how many of you got that correct first time? Let's be honest here.
Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and we want go home. I'm a psycho.
Now see this blew up fireworks and propane, but guess what? It's still living. And this so happened to be July 7th, open. And what does it say? Sin is no longer your master, for you no longer live under the requirements of the law. Instead, you live under the freedom of God's grace. Wow. You guys right. And today is July 7th. That's crazy.
Now I have one down here. I just like
God works in wonderful ways, and the fact that Page was left intact with that date tells me he was trying to send someone a message that day.
Why do you think it's gonna bubble? Because it bubbles when you put it on blood.
No, it bubbles when you put it on earwax.
It does?
Yep.
Ah, shit, that's cold.
No, see, yeah, it came out. I told you.
What came out?
It's a fucking spider.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, look.
It's a spider? Oh my god!
Yeah, you are seeing this correctly, as people's worst nightmares are entering their ears, staying there, and making it their home, and this is happening more frequently. People were terrified after cities this summer have become breeding grounds for small spiders that are not only entering and reproducing in your homes, but are trying to get into any bodily opening at all costs. One woman was rushed to the ER after noticing what she described as ear fullness after waking up, and hearing severe rattling and scratching near her brain. And when doctors treated it, they were terrified, as many feel like the ears might be the perfect moist and dark environment for the spiders to lay eggs in, and it might already be happening. And if you notice the spider, it might already be too late, with some people reporting spiders staying in their ears for several days to weeks before it came out. People have now resorted to cleaning out their headphones before wearing it each time, as thousands of people are finding spiders just resting there and then crawling into their ear. Fortunately, spiders laying eggs in the ears and all this stuff is not super common, but if you do notice it, do not treat it yourself. Go to the ER.
Not gonna lie, I check my headphones there just in case. I mean, if I have a spider that's living in my ear and is even thinking about settling down and having a family, it's not going to be living there rent free. Like,
David Attenborough has come out with this painting from the same artist who painted the King Charles portrait. Let me know what you think about this in the comments.
when you're an artist, there is no such thing as coincidence. I mean, I believe this guy is also an occultist. I mean, Prince Charles' As Above So Below painting just tells you that. And if you haven't already seen, go ahead and check out Obama's painting that was done by the same guy.
Another day, another fishing into somebody's wall. Let's get rid of some of this. What is this? Oh, tough. Nope. Nope, back in the wall. Never to be seen.
So I just moved into this house and I found this little room right here, and every time at night I keep hearing noises from the closet.
So my brother-in-law got this new house and there was a door on the floor, and when we got it open, there was like a really creepy staircase, super narrow and dark, and it smelled musty, but I was like, I'm gonna go see what's down there. So I went down the staircase. It was kind of hard because the stairs were like made out of dirt.
I think I just found the craziest / creepiest thing I've ever found in my house. Putting insulation up in the rim joists, and I have this little crawl space area that juts off my basement.
And I see this like hole in my wall, and like next door I have a really creepy neighbor. Let's take a look. What the? Oh my god! Oh my!
And I see this hole, and I decide to look inside to see what's in here, right? And I have a headlamp on right now, and my phone light, and I cannot see the bottom.
Oh shit, you guys. Okay, so I just moved into this old home, and we noticed that these were weird, and look at what we found. Yeah, there's a door right there. I'm scared. Okay, we moved the fridge. Door. Are you ready? Open it.
Guys, I'm so nervous.
Wait, someone needs a flashlight.
Yeah, look at a flashlight.
Oh my fucking god!
Oh my god!
Hey guys, I never did. Look here, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
I find it fascinating how some houses have secret doors that lead into rooms or tunnels, because you know deep down that whether something happened there which was good or bad, there's some history behind that before it was blacked up, and that kind of fascinates me for some weird reason.
Donald Trump.
Monta no pão xereca, ela monta no pão xereca. Ai na piroga, essa filha da puta. Grita bem alto. Ai, monta no pão xereca, ela monta no pão xereca. Vai na piroga, essa filha da puta. Grita bem alto, quem é que pega? Monta no pão xereca, ela monta no pão xereca.
I'd say I take this as a pinch of salt, but what's your opinion on this? You know, for me personally, it doesn't even look like a Mason Lodge setting, but I could be wrong, to be honest.
Orchestrated oppression, the blueprint for our enslavement. 1. The bankers will ensure we stay in debt. 2. The pharmaceutical companies will ensure stay sick. 3. The weapons manufacturers will ensure we keep going to war. 4. The media will ensure we are prevented from knowing the truth. 5. The education system will ensure we remain compliant. 6. The tech giants will ensure we are constantly monitored. 7. The government will ensure all of this is done legally. To reclaim your freedom, cultivate independence in your thinking and actions. Seek knowledge from diverse and reliable sources. Prioritize personal well-being over systemic pressures, and question the status quo. Empower yourself through critical thinking, self-education, and self-reliance to break free from the control exerted by powerful institutions.
If you pay close attention, you'll hear that he clearly states that they are going to become gods, and there is nothing you can do about it. If you try and resist, they will kill you.
We are going to become gods. Period. If you don't like it, get off. You don't have to contribute. You don't have to participate. But if you're going to interfere with me becoming God, we'll have big trouble. Then we'll have warfare. The only way you can prevent me in this 50 year is to kill me. If you kill me, I'll kill you.
The chilling speech mirrors warnings delivered by Yuval Noah Harari, Klaus Schwab's right-hand man in recent times. Harari also mocks ordinary people as useless and hopeless, and tells humanity they have no future worth living in the brave new world of the WF's Agenda 2030, where the elites have the power of creation and destruction.
Developing even bigger powers
than ever before. We are really acquiring divine powers of creation and destruction. We are really upgrading humans into gods. We are acquiring, for instance, the power to re-engineer life.
But the blasphemy of the elites doesn't stop there. We'll expose their plans to supplant Jesus and Christianity in the Western world with their own diabolical religion. Klaus Schwab's WEF has declared war on Christianity and other major religions. According to the WEF, there isn't enough room for two saviors of mankind on this earth, and it's time for Jesus to be consigned to the dustbin of history.
I mean, all this story about Jesus rising from the dead and being the Son of God, this is fake news. Humans are now hackable animals. You know, the whole idea that humans have, you know, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over.
According to the WEF, Jesus is fake news. God is dead and you do not have a soul. You are a hackable animal whose future has been determined for you, and you do not have the capacity for free will. These tyrants have now become arrogant and sure of their own success. They are no longer hiding in the shadows and pulling the puppet strings from behind the curtains. According to Schwab, it's his role to shape the transformation of the world in the current period, and he plans on using genetic editing to change humanity on a cellular level, whether they like it or not.
The difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you if you take a genetic editing.
These people are delusional. I mean, the fact that they are saying that we don't have no solar spirit is lies directly from Satan. I mean, if you believe that you don't have a spirit or a soul, then you also believe you don't have purpose on this earth, which means you can do what you want or do what thou wilt. So it's clear to see who they serve, and it's also clear to see that they are under a satanic organization. But they can try and destroy our bodies and minds, but they can never destroy our souls.
Have you ever noticed that the voice in your head isn't you? If you repeat the word hello now 5 times silently in your head, yeah.
Okay.
And everybody listening and watching, just repeat the word hello 5 times.
Okay.
Would you hear that?
I could hear it, yeah, in my head.
So if you could hear that, then that voice cannot be you. It is your voice. It belongs to you, but it's not you.
And if it's not me,
yeah,
then does that mean that gives me power to ignore it?
Exactly.
Or to tell it it's wrong?
Power to ignore it, mostly. I've come to distrust it, to be honest, by paying very close attention to, like, the voice in my head has told me to do something, I've done it, it didn't work out. That's happened multiple times. What happens if I just ignore it completely and just go about life without listening to it? What happens? Well, I'll tell you one thing that does happen. You don't suffer so much along the way. Even if the outcomes are the same, you got there without suffering because you weren't listening to what was going on in there. And I think people with ADHD have a unique ability to grasp what I just said because their voice is so strong.
This might sound weird. Now, we all have our own inner voices, but whenever I became saved, I still have my inner voice, but it was prevalent and clear that my own inner voice was somewhat deceptive and manipulative, and, you know, sort of trying to give in to sin and temptation, that sort of thing. But what I noticed was, as time went on and I was sort of developing my relationship and connecting more with God, there's a second voice that you have in your head that is a lot more calm, a lot more still. And I do find that whenever you focus more on that voice, your own inner voice becomes less authoritative. Now, I can't give a perfect example of what I'm talking about, but I'll leave that for another time.
This is the solar death ray, and it can melt rock. So I wanted to see what would happen if I actually aimed it at the earth. In other words, I aimed it at dirt. The secret to the power of the solar death ray are these concentric lines that gather all the sunlight that hit them and concentrate the light down to a central bright spot. There was so much heat generated by this concentrated light that it turned the dirt into boiling lava. This lens is so efficient at gathering light, it creates a shadow underneath with a central bright spot. The intense light created such high temperatures that it melted the dirt into glass. I allowed the solar death ray to melt into the surface of the earth for quite a while, and the results were interesting. After 30 minutes, a swath of melted dirt had formed on the surface. I disengaged the solar death ray by removing the lens so I could take a closer look at the dirt. As I removed the light, I could see a glowing spot and then the obsidian that had formed. As the earth rotates and the sun goes across the sky, there's a melted line that goes in the opposite direction. I chiseled the melted dirt up off the surface after it had cooled, and it looked a lot like what happens when lightning hits the ground. Totally rad.
Fair play to him for inventing this, but isn't it technically just a magnifying glass?
There is some odd things going on in the music industry right now. Kanye West fans are starting a hashtag called Save Kanye because they're concerned about the new allegations. Ex-Chief of Staff Milo is accusing Kanye's dentist for giving him nitrous oxide gas, so much where Kanye would spend upwards of $50,000 per month, allegedly. Even said that Kanye would pull up to meetings with an inhaler mask on, and his dentist Connolly has denied all of these allegations. Next, we have Travis Scott. He was recently arrested due to an altercation with his own bodyguard. Not only that, there's a lot of controversy around this video of how Travis handled this altercation with a fan. And we have Taylor Swift. She had to cancel a show recently due to a planned attack of terror, and all of her fans responded by flooding the streets singing her songs. That in itself raised a lot of controversy because it got canceled because of an alleged planned attack, and people just flooded the streets and started singing, which can't be safe because there's no security or anything. Who knows what's going to happen?
For those of you who are unaware of Taylor Swift, she's had to cancel her concert in Vienna in Italy because they hired bodyguards who were ISIS members, unbeknownst to her and her team, of course, and the bodyguards were able to identify themselves by wearing a badge on their shirts, and apparently they were going to plant, and then drive through the concert when it was live and then start heading everyone. Now, that's how the story is. I don't know if those claims are true.
The official narrative is that your hair is dead. But did you know that your hair is actually an extension of your nervous system and what some call your sixth sense? Some believe that longer hair transmits data of information from the environment around you to your limbic system, your neocortex, and your brainstem. They say that your hair actually works as an antenna, giving you heightened awareness and spatial capabilities. The military was infatuated with this idea and tested this theory out themselves. Listen to this.
This is the truth behind the Native Americans' long hair and why it led to an odd experiment in the Vietnam War. The United States Army recruited Native Americans because of their incredible tracking skills. Like all soldiers, the new recruits had to cut their long hair before going into battle. And it wasn't long before the Army officials discovered that Native American recruits, they weren't doing any better than the American soldiers were. When the officials questioned the Native American soldiers about their lack of tracking skills, they told them about their hair. By forcing them to cut off their hair, they'd also cut off their incredible tracking abilities. Well, the Army decided to find out if that was true. It did sound completely implausible, but they planned the experiment anyway. During the Vietnam War, 2 Native Americans were recruited. They were known as the First Nation Soldiers. One of the First Nation soldiers was allowed to keep his hair long in the traditional braids. The other was told to buzz his hair the way the other GIs did. Late at night, the 2 First Nation soldiers were sent out into the jungle. Because this was just an experiment to determine if the legend was true, they didn't send the First Nation soldiers out into enemy territory. Instead, they had a few of the First Nations' fellow soldiers play the part of the enemy. It was their job to find the First Nation soldiers in the dead of night and capture them. And the results of the experiment were shocking. The 2 First Nation soldiers were out in the jungle. The soldier with the buzz cut, he wasn't out there for very long before he was captured by the so-called enemy soldiers. He was quickly returned to base to wait for the soldiers to seek out the long-haired First Nation soldier. The enemies found out quickly that it was not going to be as easy to find the long-haired soldier. As he sensed them coming from far away, he was able to make his escape. This went on throughout the entire night. Time and time again, the long-haired soldier managed to avoid capture. He was able to track where the enemy was going, and he managed to stay far away from them. When the sun came up, the experiment was over. When the U.S. Army reviewed what happened during the experiment, they found that during the night the long-haired First Nation soldier had gone to sleep on 2 occasions and was still able to sense when the enemy was close by. Despite the fact that he was asleep, he still managed to avoid capture. This left the non-believers in the United States Army stunned. They started to realize that what the Native Americans were saying about their superpowers, as unbelievable as it sounded, was true. They had proof that the soldier's long hair helped him avoid capture during the night, and things had to change in the U.S. Army.
This story brings a lot more validity to the story in the Bible of how they took Samson's power away from him by cutting his hair.
I'm a firm believer that everything has its purpose, and I do understand about Samson in the Bible, but we also know not to take the Bible so literally. So my question here to you is, does our hair really have a sixth sense, or is this just a made-up story?
Operation Popeye is thought to be the first known successful application of weather control technology in warfare. The first flight of the operation took off on March 20th, 1967. A total of 2,602 flights were made in 5 monsoon seasons, from March to November. The 54th Weather Reconnaissance Squadron executed the cloud seeding procedure using the slogan, "Make Mud, Not War." Within their squadron, the operation was codenamed Motor Pool. 3 Lockheed C-130 Hercules aircraft and 2 McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom aircraft, based at Udon Thani Royal Thai Air Force Base, were altered and fitted with silver iodide ejectors. The 5 cloud-seeding jets had the standard Southeast Asia camouflage colors and markings, but no unit identifiers, likely because the operation was top secret. The squadron flew 2 rainmaking operations per day, while also generating report data, which they presented to their superiors. The flights were officially logged in as standard weather reconnaissance flights. The Viet Cong would not know where the rain was coming from. The initial range of operations for Popeye was the eastern half of the Laotian Panhandle. 4 months after the first official flight, the area of intervention was increased towards North Vietnam. In September 1967, the Ao Sha Valley in South Vietnam was also added to the mix. As bomb operations over North Vietnam expanded, that area was eliminated from the list on April 1st, 1968. Likewise, the southern region to North Vietnam became part of the operational site for only a couple of months. In 1972, northeastern Cambodia was added to the operational zone. A total of 47,409 units of cloud seed cartridges were expended. The operation's details were so secret that the soldiers who got selected to participate were usually kept in the dark until the last minute. Everyone had their own theory about what Operation Popeye was really about. Soldier Howard Kibble said, quote, "I had fleeting thoughts of flying over China, working for the CIA, you name it. But I signed a statement and found out that I was going to make rain. Geez, I thought they were kidding." Ethical and environmental concerns were Operation Popeye's downfall. An article in the Washington Post in 1971 by reporter Jack Anderson revealed that the U.S. was engaged in clandestine weather weaponization in Vietnam. The information was corroborated by the Pentagon Papers leak released by Daniel Ellsberg. The following year, in July of 1972, journalist Seymour Hersh reported in the New York Times about Operation Popeye using the headline, "Rainmaking is used as a weapon by the U.S." The article describes how some officials opposed the radical idea and even doubted its effectiveness due to the unknown long-term consequences, stating, quote, "Despite years of experiments with rainmaking in the U.S. and elsewhere, scientists are not sure they understand its long-term effect on the ecology of a region." A few days after the story's publication, the entire program was officially ended, and all cloud seeding missions stopped. Silver iodide, a material used in cloud seeding condensation, is known to be toxic to aquatic life. So when used in the long term, precipitation from seeded clouds could harm the environment. The news caught the eye of Democratic Senator Claiborne Pell, who demanded to have the specifications of Operation Popeye officially declassified and released to the public. As one of the leaders of the operation, Lieutenant Harry Edward Soyster was asked to testify in front of the Committee on Foreign Relations. He told them everything he knew. The cost of Operation Popeye was about $3.6 million per year, which included the operation and maintenance of the modified jets, purchase of seeding materials, and pay for the people involved in the project. The timing of all these public announcements did not work out well for the Department of Defense. In 1972, the environmental boom in America was burgeoning. In addition, the Nixon administration was already struggling with the beginning stages of the infamous Watergate scandal. When the public, especially environmental activists, found out that America had secretly been playing God and altering the weather in Vietnam, they were outraged. The operations were dubbed the Watergate of weather warfare. Operation Popeye was officially terminated on July 5th, 1972. In 1977, the U.S. joined the Environmental Modification Convention Treaty, or ENMOD, an international treaty which formally banned weather modification for malicious purposes. The agreement banned causing earthquakes and tsunamis, steering hurricanes, or tampering with the ionosphere. It also prohibited any kind of severe damage to the environment.
The funny thing I find about this is that if we ever talk about geoengineering or cloud seeding or HARP, etc. to people in public, they look at us and laugh and just call us conspiracy theorists. Yet back in the 60s, this was all public knowledge. So what's changed from then to now? You know, we also know that this is still happening today, if not progressively worse than what it was back then, but yet we're still called, you know, conspiracy theorists. If you like long form videos being integrated into these shows, then let me know in the comments below, or if you have any other feedback, I'd be happy to hear that as well.
Soms mag het geil,
I've got a new set of topics right here for you to enjoy, but thanks very much for sticking out to the very end, guys. And if you haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more new videos, and also help out with the algorithm. And until the next video, look after yourselves, stay safe and stay healthy, and I'll see you then.